Welcome to Fierce Conversations with Toby, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of overcoming. Here we share powerful stories that ignite healing and inspire profound transformations in your own journey. I'm Toby Dorr, and together we'll explore the resilience, courage, and fierce determination that turn life's challenges into stepping stones for growth. Let's begin this transformative journey together. Hi, this is Toby, and I'm so glad to welcome you to Fierce Conversations with Toby. And my guest today is Audrey Harrell. Audrey is a woman that I met in Kansas City. Gosh, I don't know, it's been 5 or 6 or 8 years ago. It's quite a while. And Audrey was doing some wonderful work there for a group called Journey to New Life. And I'm so glad to have Audrey on so we can talk about the wonderful things you're doing in the world. Welcome, Audrey.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, how long we've known each other. It's
It's been
been,
a while. Yes, it's been a while. Yeah.
yeah,
So, one of the things I like to ask people before we really get into the gritty conversation is what's your favorite color and what does that say about you?
I think my favorite color is red. I like to think that I'm hey, fierce and fiery, right?
Yes, yeah. If someone asked me to guess your favorite color, I would have said red. And I was sitting here thinking she's going to say red, and you did.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that. So, tell me a little bit about Journey to New Life and the work you were doing there because that's where we met.
yeah. Journey to New Life was a prisoner reentry program.
Mhm.
We really tried to help uh, the incarcerated, previously incarcerated, get acclimated again into society. We helped with housing. We actually provided housing.
Yeah, and I
We,
think that was unique for your group and very powerful because I was in the women's house and I got a tour of it and it was just awesome. But one of the things I think that was the hardest for me when I got out of prison is that the people that you knew the best, that you could relate to, that could understand what you were going through, were other women who'd been in prison. And you're not really have them in your community. And so you really can't share how you're feeling because there's no one else who understands it. So I could see that being a very powerful tool.
yeah, and also a lot of times when folks come out of prison, the community is not really welcoming. They don't want certain
Yeah,
people living in
that's
their
a
neighborhood.
statement for sure. That's
Yeah,
right. It's hard to
yeah.
find a place to live. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But we
Yeah.
also provided assistance with folks getting just their records, disability, getting their identity back. You know, oftentimes, most of our clients had been in long, like at least 10, 20 years. You
Yeah.
know, a lot
It's a
changes.
lot. I was in 27 months and it probably took me a good 6 months to adjust to being out. I can't imagine being in for 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, most of
So,
them were institutionalized.
yes, and it happens so easily.
Yeah,
And it happens because it has to happen or you couldn't survive in prison. You kind of got to get with the prison flow.
yeah, that's true. It
So one of
changes
the
you.
yeah, one of the things I thought was unique about Journey to New Life is you actually had some interesting housing facilities. I was in two of them and they were both for women.
Hmm.
One was an old convent, and there were still a few nuns who lived there, and they kind of helped you run the program. But what a perfect use of a space that was meant to house a community of women,
Yeah,
to put into a convent. And I just think it was beautiful.
yeah. Um, those sisters actually were founders of Journey to New
Oh,
Life.
oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So we had started, and they lived in the first house, um, which was an older home, and we had a house manager there, and then I guess it was a year or two before I left, we opened up a second house because the
Mhm.
need was so great.
And that's I went in that one too. And actually they purchased some of my workbooks to use there. And I was going to come in and teach classes once a week, and then came COVID,
Mm,
and we never got that to work, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And what was that second house? What was in there before you guys?
The second one was actually where the convent was. But
Ah,
yeah, the first one was actually that was priest.
okay.
The
Okay.
first one, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that's such an interesting take. And so you had a lot of programs to help people. And you could people could walk in off the street, couldn't they? And come in and try to get some help.
Yes, yes. We also had apartments. We had like
Oh, you owned apartment buildings?
yes,
Huh.
yes, yeah,
That's a perfect setup, really, because that is one of the hardest things to get safe housing.
yeah, yeah.
A
We were
lot of
trying to help, long term
mhm.
transition.
Yeah, I think that's pretty powerful. And then you left Kansas City and you moved to Michigan, Minnesota?
Minnesota, lovely
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your husband had a job change, and then you had another major life event in the past year. So tell me about that one. That one's a pretty difficult one.
Yeah. As you said, relocated during COVID
Mm.
also, because my husband, his job transferred us to Minnesota. And um, 7 months ago, almost exactly 7 months ago, my husband unexpectedly passed.
Mm.
And yeah, my life was completely turned upside down. I had no sense of who I was as a person, really, because my husband and I were so connected and we did everything together.
Mm.
We were each other's best friends. My husband was in the military, so we moved around, quite a bit. So we really relied on one another, and yeah, it was a hard transition, and I feel like I'm still transitioning. I don't know that you ever really,
Let you ever get through it. I
yeah,
mean, I still struggle on days with my mom being gone, and
yeah,
that's been 7 or 8 years. So
yeah, yeah. I was fortunate though to have my parents
uh,
living with me
yes,
because
that's a blessing.
yeah,
That's a real blessing.
yeah, I didn't know how blessed I was until that happened because if they had not been there, I don't know what would have happened because we did not know anyone.
You were
And
new to the community there. So, yeah,
mhm, yeah,
that would be tough. Are you staying in Minnesota now?
well, I hope to go back home.
Uh,
My husband is buried in Virginia, so
oh,
I'd like to be a little closer so that I can,
yeah. We
visit.
live in Virginia now. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
we've been here for almost 3 years.
Okay. What
Chris's
part?
son, we're in Manassas, well, Bristow, which is a part of Manassas.
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just love it. And we had no intention of moving, but Chris's son came to us one day and said, I found the perfect job. I mean, the perfect job for me. And he said, there's only one downside. He said, it's in Washington, D.C. And Chris and I didn't even talk about it, but I just looked at Kevin and said, well, I think you should take the job if that's what, you think is a perfect fit for you. but you need to buy a big house because we're moving with you. And he said, "Would you really consider that?" And I said, "Yes." And Chris looked at me, he said, "We would?" And I said, "Yes, we would." And Kevin said, "Well, that was the one thing that was holding me back because I didn't want to take the kids away from their grandparents."
Yeah.
I said, "No, we'll all come." And he said, "Okay, then it's a done deal." So here we are.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So it's funny because that's where I actually met my husband. We
Oh,
both worked at the Pentagon.
ah, uh-huh.
And yeah, I'm originally from Culpeper. So
Oh, yes. I know Culpeper.
yeah, and my
Oh,
husband actually used to manage an insurance company in Bristol.
oh wow. Wow. Who knew that our roots were so crossed?
Yeah, yeah,
That's interesting. Yeah. We
yeah.
really love it here. We're big into history, and there's history everywhere you turn. There's something historical. And you can drive 30 minutes and be at the ocean, 30 minutes to be in the mountains, 30 minutes and be in DC. I mean, goodness. There's
Right.
so much to do around here. So, we
Yeah.
yeah. Interesting. So when you say you'd like to go back home, is that what you're talking about, Virginia?
Um, close close to Virginia. Virginia is a little pricey now.
It is. It really is.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
Northern Virginia is where I spent most of my time after I graduated between there and Maryland. So
Mhm.
I think maybe North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, North Carolina would be nice, and
Yeah,
that's not very far away. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be really nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So, I have a whole list of questions I usually ask, and we've kind of taken our conversation own direction, but that's okay. Um, so what's the hardest decision you've ever had to make?
Um, the hardest decision, I think, I'm trying to make it right now. You
Yes.
know,
Mhm.
where do I go?
Yeah.
Where do I
Mhm.
go next? What do I do? Do I stay in Minnesota? Do I move? Do I move closer to my family? Do I move closer to his family? Do I want to leave my daughter? My daughter's in Kansas City. My son is in Colorado. So,
There's a
you know,
lot of places to choose from, isn't there?
yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah,
lived in Kansas City for a while, so that would kind of almost be like a going home. So,
yeah. We lived there 10 years.
yeah.
Everyone in my family loved Kansas City except for me. So,
Ah, yeah. Well, and now you're the one that's left that matters, so maybe that doesn't work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
interesting. So, I also met you because you were doing some work for a group called, uh, Diversify You,
hmm
and with Frederick Johnson, and Frederick's been on my podcast too. I think he was episode 4 or 5, something. He was early on.
hmm
So, you've just got a whole life of reaching out and helping others. And I think that's just beautiful. What's the thing that has given you the most satisfaction in all this kind of work that you've been doing?
I really think just being able to see the difference that I've actually made in people's lives. And I'm really a big advocate on personal development.
Mm,
And everywhere that I've worked, my the people that I've supervised have
mhm,
actually kept in touch with me, and they have just the mentorship that I gave to them.
mm.
They've
That
come
that's
back.
a lasting impression, and they still reach out to you. That says a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah,
yeah,
that says a lot. You
yeah.
also had a business on the side where you were flipping houses,
hmm
and that was you doing all the actual physical work, the construction work too, right?
Well, actually, what I wanted to do was it was sort of a combination of what we were doing with Journey to New Life
Mhm,
because my goal was actually to go into the prison system and get a group of women
Yeah.
trained uh,
Mhm.
in the construction field
Yeah.
so that when they came out, I wanted to have a house for them as well, where they
Mhm.
could live. And then also they would recreate or revive, I would think,
Yeah.
rebuild the communities that they had a part in being
I
destructive.
I think that's pretty powerful, and, Chris and I had a similar idea. When we lived in Sedalia, we,
Hmm.
bought an old building and we renovated it ourselves and did all the work. And Chris, had this idea we could buy, a big building with a bunch of rooms in it, and we could bring people in here who were getting out of prison, and they could work on the building in the day and sleep in it at night, just like we've done with the building we bought. And we
Yeah,
really wanted to make that work, but we just never had the funding to be able to get something started like that. But I think it would be so powerful. And then you would be giving people these skills they could take out into the world and use them to create a new life.
yeah. I was fortunate though that I actually did do some, not necessarily because my business was built by her, but I
Yes.
was able to connect with some female construction workers, and
Mhm.
we became a part of the minority construction group in
Oh,
Kansas City.
uh-huh.
We were actually a part of getting the veterans housing, the tiny houses.
Oh, really? That
Yeah,
is such a great program, that tiny house program they have in Kansas City for veterans. I
yeah,
love it. Yeah, that's
yes,
awesome.
yeah. So my husband, as I've said, he was in the military, so he was a veteran. So
Mhm.
we used those connections to get us into the VA system, and we also had some, pretty connected folks in the Kansas City state
Mhm.
government and the city government because
Yeah.
we were flipping houses.
Mhm.
So some of
Mhm.
those connections, paid off.
That is pretty powerful. And there's something really kind of full circle about teaching people to build a house so that they can build a new life. It just seems like such a full circle journey.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that. I love
yeah.
that. So, who has been your most important mentor?
Actually, I would say my husband.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
critical.
yeah, because my husband, he had a lot of leadership
Mhm.
skills being in the military. And then when he got out, he was still in management. And he would really help, we would do like case studies and he would tell
Yes.
me about things that he
Mhm.
had done and what worked.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that makes sense. I like that. What did your husband do, by the way, for his work?
He initially he when he first got out of the military, he was actually a photographer. Well, his MOS was photography. Not that he ever did that.
Mhm.
When I was he did it as soon as he went in because he was a combat photographer.
Uh-huh.
Then he actually was an admin assistant and worked with General Colin Powell.
Oh, wow.
So, but once he got out of the military, he actually went into insurance.
Mhm.
And when we moved up here, he was doing another transition, another career change into hotel management.
Oh, okay.
And that's what he was doing initially. And within the last year, he had actually come on board because he really wanted to get into nonprofits. And he
Mhm.
was working with me at
Oh,
Hope House.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I probably need to get in touch with you because I'm getting ready to start a nonprofit. I'm calling it Fierce Grace. And,
Mm.
you know, I'm not sure quite how to take the first steps. So I think I'm going to talk to you after our podcast is over. Get some pointers here. So, was there ever a time in your life you've really felt imprisoned? And what did you do to free yourself?
That would be recently. I would
Mm,
say right after my husband's death, I did feel like I couldn't I couldn't move. I couldn't go anywhere. I was sort of connected to my bedroom. My
mm,
bedroom is where my husband passed. So
mm,
um, I would say for a good 3 months, I did not come out of my bedroom.
mm,
But I was able to really start allowing people to help me because I started attending support groups.
mhm,
Even though I wasn't, going out socializing, I was in a support group
mhm,
from almost day 3 after
mhm.
my husband died. I was attending support groups every day.
Wow.
So that helped me.
That's pretty powerful. And a lot of the women I work with, they want to give to someone, but some people find it hard to receive from others.
Yeah,
And and that's a big part of moving forward, I think, is being able to receive and to let other people help you.
yeah, that's very true. I'm in a group, I'm still going to groups
Yeah,
now.
I think
And
that's good.
yeah, and one of the therapists, that's her thing. Every week she says we have homework. We
Ah,
have, and the homework is to allow people to support you, and we
mhm.
have to report what have we done that week that we allowed people to help
I
us.
love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
What do you think is a suggestion you could give all the listeners for what they might do if that friend of theirs had the same situation, their spouse died suddenly? What is the thing that would have meant the most to you that someone could have offered you?
I think just being there, just being present, not
Mhm,
necessarily trying to help in the way that you think people need to
mhm.
help, but just to be there, just to be
Yeah.
there, to be available
Mhm.
if they asked, you know.
Yes. And I think people want to fill the space with doing something or saying something, but sometimes you just need to sit there and
Yeah,
just and that's hard to do, I think.
yeah, I think
And I
so.
can see the value in that because you don't know what you need. And
Right,
sometimes it's just having another person in the room with you, you
right.
know, fills that space.
And
Yeah.
it's funny too because my husband took care of all the things around the house.
Mhm.
Our our thermostat went out. Our dishwasher ran over. Our,
All
we had
these things that you were like, "Where are you? I need help."
I didn't even know how to change the filter in the, the air conditioner furnace. So it was like, wow,
Yeah. Yeah, all the things you never even thought to ask.
yeah.
So tell us your best memory of your husband.
Um, I have to think of a good one that I can actually share. I have many memories, but
Uh-huh.
I think actually the best memory is when we first met. My husband likes to tell this story differently than I do. He says, as I said, we were at the Pentagon,
Mhm.
and his master sergeant had met me. We both worked in the photo department,
Mhm.
but he had never met me. And his master sergeant came to him and said, "You have to go down and meet this girl in the photo lab. You'll like her. She's really nice. You have to go meet her." My husband was was very, I like to say he was very arrogant,
Ah,
um, but he was very confident in himself. And he was one of those people, always wore his dress greens and always was like creased
uh,
all, you know.
just to perfection.
Yes, yes. So he comes down, he doesn't even say hello. He goes throughout the photo lab speaking to everyone else and never spoke to me. And so I went out in the hall and started talking to him because I knew who he was because my supervisor had told me who he was. And he actually used to date another person named Audrey.
Oh,
So I go out into the hall and, strike up a conversation. And I'm like, oh, so what are you doing? What are you doing this weekend? He's like, nothing. I said, oh, I think you're calling me and we're going out. And he said, oh, okay. I said, yeah, here's my number. You need to call me. We need to go out. We need to do something. So yeah, we, needless to say, that night, he called me. We stayed on the phone for 4 hours.
wow.
And that weekend, he fixed me dinner. And it was his favorite meal, not mine. Uh, but it was steak and potatoes. Uh,
Ah,
and he was a very good cook.
uh-huh.
And, at the time, his son was living with him. He was 4 years old.
Oh,
And at that time, I was not the person who ever thought that they would get married or have children.
mm,
So, but immediately, I just I fell in love with his son be-
ah,
because of how he really took care of
mhm,
his son. And
mhm.
his son just, he was glued to me that that whole evening. And ever since then, we were.
You've been together. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think Chris fell in love with me because he loved my dog. And he's like, I need that dog in my life. Yeah, things change, but that's the first thing he was attracted to, I think. So that's
Yeah,
interesting. So
yeah.
what's one question you wish I'd asked?
Um, what's next, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good one. So what is next?
Actually, I am trying to make sense of all the crazy that
Mhm,
has happened in the last year, trying to honor my husband and still be connected to him.
mhm.
And I feel like I've found that way through starting a business again
Oh, what's
with,
your new business?
it's actually life coach,
I
being
love
a
that.
life coach,
Yeah.
because I've been doing that all along. And
Yes, you have, in the form of mentoring people, but that's really what it is. I think
yeah,
that's beautiful. Yeah.
yeah,
Have
yeah.
you got a name for your business?
Coaching with Audrey.
Oh, well, that gets you right there. That
Yeah,
sounds excellent.
yeah.
So who's your target audience? Is it anybody in particular, or are you looking for women, or where do you think you fit the best?
Given the situation, I really want to work with grieving individuals.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
beautiful. Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's so many different ways of grieving. I lost a daughter as a baby. She lived 18 hours and 31 minutes. I never grieved for her.
right.
And it caused a lot of problems in my life, really a lot of
Mhm.
problems. And it's like a festering thing that's little tiny and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And You've really got to deal with it and you've really got to face it head on and you've got to heal from it. I think that's a great purpose. Thank you for tuning in to Fierce Conversations with Toby. Your support means the world, and I hope today's episode made a positive impact on you. To keep our conversations going, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. A 5-star rating, like, comment, or review helps tremendously in spreading our message. You can also support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/fierce conversations. All members receive a downloadable gratitude journal and access to a private Facebook group. Plus, 10% of your subscription goes directly to donating my workbooks to women in prison. Finally, sharing this episode with your friends and family is a great way to amplify our mission. Fierce Conversations is created and hosted by me, Toby Dorr, with production by Number 3 Productions. The theme music, Grooving, composed by Lisa Plass, features Lisa on flute, Carolyn Parody on piano, and Tony Ventura on bass. Learn more at tobydor.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, escape your prison.